Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. I am not ready. I need my music. That's always the thing I forget. But hey, today's going to be an interesting day. I do think that we're going to get some pushback. There's still going to be this stuff about, is the market too far ahead of the Fed, and the Fed pushing back against some of the narrative that we got last week. But I am doing a training this morning, so I'm probably going to be pretty quiet through most of this session. But we got 30 minutes here to start out, or we can come in and look at the markets and try and understand what's going on. So let's come over to the charts and just take a peek at what has been going on overnight. We do have a rollover for a currency here. And where's my charts? There we go. I was messing around with a few things, so I got a bunch of stuff on here that you don't really need. But, okay, so here we got the treasuries. There was a brief sell. I mean, it seems brief. That was the one that, man, I am so mad about that trade not working out, but we're about where we were yesterday or on Friday at this moment in the treasuries, despite some more job owning by the Federal Reserve overnight. So the market is now almost like completely ignoring them. We come over to the S&P 500. They've been flat past 3 days, but there's been a lot of volatility with that. So oil having a little bit of a jump here this morning. Goldman Sachs says that their range for the year is $70 to $90. So that kind of means a buy, right? I don't know. Oil's been an awfully complicated and confusing asset lately. Gold and silver, well, gold did take a little bit of a hit on Friday. Silver's, doing pretty good though. And we got copper doing okay. We're still not sure where things are going in China, but we think that maybe they're to the upside. And then we get the dollar and the Japanese yen. So the dollar took a huge hit, and we are around 102 now after being at 10, not even the beginning. Well, I guess that's pretty far back. November, we're at 106. So Bitcoin seeing a little bit of a decline and briefly getting below 4,100, but 4,000 is probably still the main psychological level over there. So that's basically where we're at on that. Let's come back over here and take a look at the week. So we don't really have anything today, but we do have speakers. Goolsby actually is supposed to be speaking right now. And we do have a bill auction today. Let me bring up the Forex Factory calendar. It's my favorite calendar. So we do have like the building and housing numbers this week, and then we get GDP. And what about Friday? Friday is going to be a weird day because realize that Christmas is on a Monday. So New Year's Eve is on the 24th. Many companies will be giving people the 22nd off as Christmas Eve instead. So that's going to make Friday a weird day, but we do get PCE price index. That is an important number. So we still have some economic, it's not time to go on vacation yet. We still got some economic news. Now after that, it's going to be like, yeah, don't trade next week. Okay. Okay, Goolsby is talking, and he is saying, I am seeing significant improvement on inflation. He has been a little bit more dovish than the others, so this is a good one to be watching. Okay, so the market is moving down. There was a large offer that showed up there briefly, but it pulled back out. It's going to be interesting to see. I think the thing that I'm going to be watching this week the most closely is the volatility, because I think that there's some reason for there to be a little bit of volatility here at the beginning of the week for sure. But overall, they're probably going to clamp down on volatility. So does the market price that correctly is going to be a really big determinant of not only how this week goes, but probably the beginning of the year as well. Because that will kind of set the pace for like what the options are positioned as at the beginning of the year. I see this somebody's comment on Twitter that talking about the Hamas situation. He was saying, I would rather be alive and hated than dead and pitied. And I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, or we could just not give a fuck what other people think and do what we know is effective. Problem is that violence in a modern society is not very effective. Let's see here. What's this? Bank of America revises 2024 call to a soft landing. Says real GDP growth 1.2% versus a previous spot 6. Private payrolls 88K per month versus a previous 56K. Unemployment peak at 4.2% versus 4.4%, and core PCE 2.5. So that's a revising their call to a soft landing. That means that it's going to be an even more soft landing than they said. It's not. It is so violence is inherently a poor investment, actually, relative to your alternatives, right? So violence becomes, and why is that? First, let's start with that. Why is violent inherently a poor investment? Well, the best investments that you can make are in people. That's why having kids is actually such a good investment. I know that people in society seem to have forgotten this, but your kids will almost always give you more back than what you put into them. Of course, maybe we come into this situation where the future isn't as bright, but usually the kids do better than you, and they do pay you back. And when you are a company, having the right people is everything. Violence is essentially going in and sacrificing your greatest assets and destroying other people's greatest assets. And what will always work better is working together with people. You work together with people, you can combine your assets, you can make an even greater return. The return on investment for violence is not very good. Yeah, there are some people that have that make money from violence, right? But it is not nearly as much money as they would make if they worked together and cooperated with people. In Gaza, in particular, there is so much that has gone into that place. If they 10, 20 years ago had just decided we're going to completely lay down our arms and we're just going to do everything we can to work together, they would probably already have a state. Gaza would probably be a living paradise. It's just insane the amount of money that has gone in there. But there, obviously, sometimes violence is necessary. When it's like you or them and only one person survives, then you do what you take to survive. But it's not a good return on investment. The greatest social movements that we've had in the past 100 years have all been nonviolent, right? Here in the United States, the civil rights movement, that was successful because it was nonviolent. Martin Luther King and all that stuff. And then the other big one was in India. India becoming its own country and leaving the rule of Britain was a huge deal. I mean, an absolutely huge deal, because India is going to be the most populous country in the world, right? One of the most consequential things to happen in history. Nonviolent. Yeah, they did assassinate Martin Luther King, and what did they get for it? Nothing. They got absolutely nothing. It is ineffective. Hamas, like this whole, like, where is an instance where terrorism against civilians has ended up well for the people? Another big one, Ireland, because in Ireland, when there was like violence, it accomplished nothing. It wasn't until they finally said, this is kind of stupid and it's not working, and they just made a deal that something changed over there. No, it didn't. It worked against us in 2001, worked more against us than it did them. No, it didn't. It just got a bunch of them killed. I mean, there is a thing, like, if you go back in history, then violence is a lot of history. Well, that was because, back then, if you had, if you were being oppressed or something like that, right? It was just like nobody knew, nobody cared. The world wasn't so connected. With a connected world, it's a different thing. And the what would we say? The positives that you get from violence just get far outweighed in a modern world. It's not a fantasy. It's just the way of it, right? It's looking at the system and the positives and negatives that you get through here, and what works and what doesn't work. And I think that this is one of the things in our society that we haven't taught very well. Violence is not a good return on investment. It destroys your best investments, destroys your best assets, which is people. So it is not effective. It is, or rather, I don't want to say it's not effective. It is not a good return on investment. You might win, but you're not going to get as great of a yield as if you can accomplish your goals through other means. And this is why some of these, movements that we've had recently, like Black Lives Matters, for instance, is a really, really great example, have accomplished nothing. See, Marxism, well, and really, it's Bolshevism, right? Because this is this whole idea that, like, there is a class of people that are oppressed, and that in order to bring the world to this utopian ideal and move past capitalism or whatever the deal is, there needs to be a violent overthrow of society. One of the major reasons why this idea fails over and over again is because it is premised on the idea that in order to accomplish their goals, they need to be violent. So almost every popular violent uprising does not result in prosperity afterwards. Look at the French Revolution, man. That country was an effing mess for several decades. Several decades. Did not result in... It did not result in peace and prosperity for them. Okay. Now you might look at you might say, well, what about the American Revolution? But the American Revolution was not like it was not a popular uprising in the way that it was in France. It was really the leaders in the United States decided to form together and form a country and have an organized army against this. Was kind of a little bit different. But even then, the United States would have been more prosperous at that time if they had found a way to break away from the British without a war. Yes, they would have. So, just because a technical innovation came from war doesn't mean that it's your best return on investment. What you guys are saying, is, hey, look, I made $1,000 on YOLO calls the other day, and you're not seeing Warren Buffett literally making billions and billions of dollars over the long run from just investing in good companies. That's what you're doing here, right? He's like, well, this guy, he did something violent and it kind of worked out for him. Yeah, it can, but it's not a very good return on investment. And when you factor in the risks and everything, it's often a negative return. And there's all of these other situations, which I just enumerated to you, where people used violence. It didn't work for them. And to understand why, you have to look at the dynamics of it and see how the world has changed in a way that violence isn't really very productive anymore. When it was 200 years ago, the world wasn't so interconnected. It's kind of funny. Hamas got so good at, playing the media game, and so much has the media in their pocket. If they were just peaceful, man, they would have it. They would have whatever they wanted. There would already be peace in the Middle East, and they would all be rich if they just put down their arms. It's just ridiculous. It's not. So what you're doing is you're just saying, I don't agree, but you're not actually really enumerating any actual points. And I don't, and you can't discount the fact that there are situations where violence is your only answer. But really, the only time that is the case is when it's basically going to be your life, right? See, the issue is that in ancient history, right? This comes back to something that I've been trying to, when I talk about the cultural, political sorts of things. This is the big point that I'm trying to get across. There are a lot of things in our nature and in our history that lead us to default into certain patterns and certain modes of behavior. And the world has changed, and they are not very well suited to a modern world. Our mentality is not suited towards living in a world of abundance. In a world of scarcity, and in a not very interconnected world, a very isolated world, then violence can be very effective in certain situations because you can gain a monopoly over a certain resource or over a certain group of people, and there's not a whole lot that anybody can do to fight you. And there's been all of these situations in the past where you go and you conquer a city and you take all of their resources, you get rich, you rape a bunch of people, you spread your seed around, and that was like an effective strategy. And the biology, was changed because of that, right? And that's kind of like built into your blood to some extent. But in a world of abundance, the entire structure of the thing has changed to where you can make so much more. You get such a greater return from the peace. We are so much richer today because we haven't had a super major conflict, like the type that they used to have in Europe every 50 years. Okay. We haven't had a major conflict like that in almost 80 years now, right? And that's why we're so rich and prosperous. So the world has changed. You're going to have this tendency to want to think that violence can potentially solve certain issues. But the reality is that it is a poor return on investment. It might work. You might do something in the short term, but it is nothing compared to what you can make from working together with people and investing in people. Okay, so I think that you just completely ignored my point. You want it to be different, that's fine, but all of human progress came from, okay, number one, not all of human progress, okay, but did some human progress in the past come from violence? Yes, but what did I just say? The situation has changed. The world is different. And the abundance that we have today did not come from violence. It came from the peace that happened afterwards. No, what you did was you just completely ignored the argument and said your own thing. So? The country that you live in is also a product of cooperation and healthy, friendly competition and peace. Well, so? Wait, why did that peace happen? Because of war? Well, that's a little bit more complicated, I think, because I think the reality is that without the use of, without the discovery of nuclear weapons, we probably would have had more conflicts, right? Probably would have had more conflicts. And we probably wouldn't be as prosperous as we are today. But what you're trying to say, I think misses the point, right? You're saying, well, violence did happen in the past. That doesn't change that it's not a very effective return on investment. Because what I'm saying is, you can go back to any one of those particular situations, and you can find that if you were able to find a peaceful way forward, where we could have, if for instance, we could go back and change the history so that World War II didn't happen, that everybody was just happy with each other without having to have World War II, the world would be more prosperous. A lot of damage was done. Europe was set back considerably, especially Germany, because of World War II. Germany would be a more prosperous, greater, richer country today than it would have been otherwise without World War II. because they basically completely destroyed the country and then had to rebuild it. So that's why I say it's a poor return on. Yeah, violence can have a yield, but who do you want to be? Do you want to be the guy that YOLOs on Reddit and then loses it all a little bit later and everybody forgets about them? Or do you want to be Warren Buffett? Yeah. Do you think yields go back this week? I hope so. I hope so. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not seeing too much flow on it yet. There has been about 10,000 contracts sold. I would otherwise probably try and go short, except for that I've got a I've got a training that I got to listen to here in a bit. But I think that now that the options have expired, that we might get the opportunity to see yields go a little bit higher this week. Okay, let's see here. I need to find this thing. Oh, maybe I can just do it through the calendar. Well, violence is a tool. Sometimes it's a necessary one too, right? But it will always be a poor return on your investment. So it's almost always better if you can accomplish your goals without violence. Okay. They are selling pretty good here. Oh, what are you talking about, IQZ? You have a speech over the weekend? I'm not familiar. I hadn't seen anything too significant over the weekend with what's driving what move? The move down in treasuries right now? I think that Fed's Goolsby's comments kind of seem to trigger it. I really think that the yields, like from a fundamental perspective, that the yields should have come back, and that the reason that our trade on Friday didn't work out was because of options and it being a Friday. So now that the options have expired, maybe we have a better opportunity for yields to come back up. But we'll see. They're still kind of, that was a good move, but, it could bounce here. I would like to be long yields right now, but can't got to pay attention to something else, which really sucks, but that's the way it goes sometimes. has slowed down a little bit, but they're still heading down. Only about 5 ticks on the micros, though, since we kind of talked about it. Yeah, there was a lot of volume there in ZB, wasn't there? 4K. I'm really tempted to take 395, but I'm kind of not liking the way it's behaving here. It's definitely giving me that liquidity hole look there at 10.5. In terms of like what you see on the DOM, it couldn't be more clear there at 10.5. We're in a situation where maybe they get enough volume to push out of it quickly, but there's definitely a liquidity hole for me there. But they're putting the pressure on now. I see how they're kind of having to coax them to sell it. Okay, this is a good, solid downtick. Hmm. Looks like there's some iceberging on the offer, and they are getting people to buy into them. We'll see how it resolves. It's likely to settle, though. Seven-year got slammed through there, though. Let's see that big offer in the 30 at 08. Did I say 7-year? Dude, Hmm. So now do you see how the liquidity is getting thick around there? Hey, good morning, Octavius. What I'm seeing right now is that the 10-year is still in the same place that it was, but the 30-year continues to see a little bit more pressure, and so that's why we are seeing yield slightly up. Does this really be a third inside day? Friday technically was not an inside day. Depends on how you define it, but they did make a lower low. Did make a lower low. I guess the key thing to realize from that is that even though we got a pretty strong sell there, it is not enough for it to be like a clean break or something like that. So it's entirely possible that after we build out this liquidity hole, that the liquidity reverses back up again. There they go. There's actually some real volume on this rollback too. In the 10-year in particular, it's very strong. Do you find the VWAP and point of control markers useful? I honestly don't pay too much attention to them. I mean, there is something to a VWAP, but I don't believe it provides an actual edge to you. And the point of control, I feel like by the time it's the point of control, it's already too late to learn anything about it. You should predict where the point of control is going to happen. Some sort of CVD indicator would be. Well, did you see that new feature? You know, I didn't install the new version of Jigsaw. I should have done that. Maybe I'll do that right now. But the new version of Jigsaw has a column that's basically like cumulative delta. Yeah, let me download it and we'll take a look. So they did come back and there was some volume behind it, but they didn't get very far.
Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
I guess you gotta listen to the intro again.
So stressful. And the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything.
Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So
Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. And the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So something that happens is when the stinger intro starts, if you switch scenes, it just restarts the intro again. Wow, okay. That all it took to slam us back down there, huh? I think it's Delta price. Oh, I went to switch it to the camera and I selected the wrong scene, so it started playing the intro. I just figured you'd rather see my beautiful face rather than the installer. I kind of like this Delta column. I don't think that I necessarily want to have it up and use the room, but I like it. Yeah, and there's initial balance too. I don't particularly care about that. Maybe I need to dust off my initial balance studies. When this training thing is done at the top of the hour, I'll show you the back test that I was doing over the weekend that was kind of interesting. I don't think it's still not a replacement for cumulative delta, unfortunately. Maybe it'd be more useful on a fast instrument. Well, still gonna say this area is inconclusive. Pretty massive liquidity hole. I think what we had there was a little bit of somebody tried a reversal and they just fell back into the hole. Hmm. I want to believe in higher yields, but the way this is playing out, I don't think I could take a trade here on a continuation. Does appear to be a little bit of selling here, though. Maybe those buyers get trapped. It's funny that as soon as I say that, they tick down. A significant tick there. I said, oh, I don't know if I could take the trade on to higher rates here in this situation. And it ticks down. Still kind of looks like there's a little bit of a hole, though. It's a big iceberg there at 09. Yeah. So that new column is the main one. There's also, you can change the whether it's right or left justified on some of these columns. Text orientation. And a lot of bug fixes in this release. There's a decent amount of selling at the low there, man. I'm surprised that the bid side liquidity has been as strong as it has. Because I don't know if I'd be willing to grab that knife. Hmm. Hmm. Iceberg. Hmm. Very curious. Strong liquidity below us. Only strong liquidity for the last 3 ticks. Well, apparently the... Oh, I see. There's your initial balance. That's pretty cool. I like the way they're showing that. Do you see it there in the ES? I'm reading around, and I think that the rise in oil today may be because of these Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Might explain why it's such a dramatic. Kind of coming into a key resistance area, so let's see what they do. Still getting a lot of backwash in the treasuries here. Yeah, out of tune with the market today. I think that if I was trying to make decisions purely off of what I was seeing in the order flow, that I would probably have gotten it dead wrong today. But my kind of prediction of the flows short has so far has been working. I wouldn't say that it's been worth too much, but it has been working. Something else I should point out about this move is that there hasn't been a whole lot of movement in the currencies. So it does appear to be driven primarily by movement from treasuries. Six trades. What? Wow. Is there even opportunity to get filled that many times? Apple tumbles after halting watch sales in the US. Missed that one. Might be on Phil. Maybe. Yeah, I definitely don't think that the action would justify that many trades. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to take ticks, but... I think we should re-center here. ES gonna pull out a win out of this? See, our NAHB housing market index was 37 versus an expected 34. Okay. So I don't have to pay attention to that so much. I do want to highlight that Goolsby said there's no contradiction between what Williams and Powell said last week. It does seem that the market has determined that, well, I don't know if it was Goolsby or if they were just waiting on Goolsby, but they have sold treasuries and interest rates have risen since that time. They did make a small little bit lower, another basis point, but they didn't get very far. So they seem to be running into the extent of their impact very, very quickly. And we're already in another liquidity hole. So it might be another, maybe another 45 minutes, but let's see. We're still in a period where we might see some aggressive volume. Another thing I want to point out is that I did create, so let's post that. I did create a subreddit the other day. Somebody was posting and I thought, oh, this would be a good time to make a subreddit. So I made the r/informed trading subreddit. I was just going to post this, this quote from Goolsby here. So, and I'll link you guys to it because I think that this would be a good place for discussion. If you want to talk about is what the Federal Reserve saying sensical or not. In fact, I think I will leave my own comment. I get a sense that what the market is reading from the Fed comments is not what the Fed intends. At least they're not trying to send some sort of massive dovish signal. So I leave that comment there, and you guys can respond to that if you would like. The subreddit is r/informed trading. So. What else? Okay, so I was going to say I had some stuff I wanted to show you. How are we doing? We got, well, this is, actually there's a lot of people talking. It's one of those things where it's like sometimes when I don't talk, a lot of people come in. Okay, so let me show you something. I was doing some back testing and I said, hey, I want to try some strategies that work on a daytime period, as I haven't done too much back testing on that. And I was able to get one that was, I actually got a Sharpe ratio as high as 0.49. So I think there's still some work to do there. What was the best one though? I think, there was one that made 50K. I was going to say, I think that the most profitable ones were in the 62 area. Yeah. 66. There we go. This one right here. And I did this funky thing so I can come in here and I can say open a new strategy analyzer tab. And I created a little Boolean flag in here, save history. So by default, it doesn't save the trade so that I can do that optimization stuff on it really quickly. So in order to see charts and stuff, I need to click save history and run it again. And well, that's interesting why that one came out to 59 now when it was 66. But that might just include the extra day or whatever. Anyways, when you look at the equity curve on it, I'd say that's pretty darned good. Yeah. Although I'm a little concerned when I come over to the chart. Right? It seems like these trades are pretty realistic because it's basically taking the open, right? Like you can see here on this day, it bought on the open and it closed at profit target. So there is a reward factor on that. Oh, no, wait. I don't think that that's right because I think that the reward factor is supposed to be 5. Well, anyways, in that instance, it took it worse, right? So it's entering the trade on the open. So those are prices that I think you'd be pretty likely to get. But, and here's an example of where like it bought on the open, but that day was a sell. It held it and it was able to get a winner out of it, right? So, but it takes a lot of trades, right? So I don't know how I feel about that. It's basically, it's a swing trading strategy is what it is. Yeah. Yikes. I wish there was a way for me to not have the text on there. I wish there was a way for me to not have the text so that I could see more clearly what it was doing when I zoom out. How do you do it? I can't figure it out. It's not... I don't know how to get to the data series properties in here. When you right click, you don't see that, right? Yeah, on a normal chart, you can go into data series, and then it's towards the bottom here, and there's plot executions, text and marker. Actually, let's see. Maybe somebody has searched for that before. Ninja Trader, strategy analyzer, trade markers. Where is text and marker for strategy analyzer charts? If you change the instrument in the strategy analyzer, you may have difficulty seeing the traits plotted. This should no longer be done in the strategy analyzer tab. You should not change the instrument of it immediately after backtest on the chart tab. You should be able to see the trades without touching any settings. That's the one that doesn't seem to be. It moved to the format data series window. Where is that at? Ooh, they're getting another move here. Wowzer. Wowzer. Should have taken it. I mean, I thought, it's might be a while before they go again, but they surprised me. And look at that big old offer right there. Indicators, properties, chart style. No. I don't know. Have you tried that? Yeah, I don't find it too useful. Not in the treasuries, at least. I can see what's going on without it. I mean, so here's the thing. Even at 397, I think I could potentially buy it. I don't know if in the short term it's a very good time to buy it right here, but I think that, you know, it's entirely feasible that we see 4% today. So not going to get 50 anymore, though. That was the spot that I missed because of the... So, because of the training, I didn't take that one. We could have taken 60, but I passed on that. So now we're at 70. Anyways, On this analysis, though, I really like the curve. I think that the drawdown is a bit too much still. Like 1,000. I mean, I guess 1,000 isn't terrible. But I would really like to see a Sharpe ratio. I don't know how they get these like insane Sharpe ratios like 2s and 3s and stuff. That's pretty wild. Oh, but you had asked what it was. So basically what I did was I took a bunch of, actually this is really interesting. So I will show you guys how this works. Although it didn't quite work the way that I anticipated. It's funny to open this up and not have hundreds of strategies, but I haven't moved them all over into here. Okay, so the first thing was I tried this rock strategy. So there's this thing called rock WB, and I don't know where it came from, but basically rate of change is kind of going to be the basis of a momentum strategy. So I was looking at, okay, what kind of indicators and analysis do I have based on the amount of change itself that I might be able to make a strategy out of. So what I did was I put that in, and when these two cross each other, you go longer, shorter, whatever the deal is, right? And I did that on a daily chart and got pretty good results out of that. So then I said, well, what if I like just take everything that I know might be around there and kind of combine them together. So the way that I did this was I have these booleans in here for each one of these properties, basically saying they get a vote, and it's an integer. So I can say this thing gives 5 votes, but this thing only gives 1 vote, or whatever the deal is. But for my initial testing, I just was testing them all as 1. So each one gets 1 vote. And then in here, they have the tests. So I say, okay, so if I'm getting this cross above here, then that's +1 for the vote long, and vice versa. And I go do that going through all of these. And then I come in at the very end and I say, okay, I make a score. I say the votes long compared to the votes short. And then I normalize it by dividing by the maximum score that you could possibly get to give you a number between 0 and 1. And then I have a threshold to say, okay, if my score, if I have enough of a long signal to be over my threshold, I enter long, and vice versa for the short. And then I also have a caution threshold to say, if I'm in a trade, but I get enough of a short signal that it's not necessarily something that tells me to go short, but it is enough to concern me, then I get out. Essentially is what that's about. Now, that caution part wasn't like a huge part of the winnings, I don't think, but so it's like a sentiment indicator of uninformed trades. I would say it's more like on a daily basis, because this is what can you pull out of. So we know that technical analysis is not very effective on intraday time periods, but there are things like momentum strategies, and those are kind of more run on daily charts. And so the question was like, if we take that, what can we get from it? So it's a voting system. Now, the thing that was unexpected about it, though, was that it was only required like 2 things to be correct for it to take a trade. And that was what worked the best. I think that it was because you get more trades, right? Because I think if I come back over to this, into this, well, let's sort it by total max net profit. Oh, maybe not. There was some that at the very beginning that didn't take as many trades. We are one time framing lower. It's gonna be, well, it's definitely a meta order selling. This is just like when's the right time to get into it, right? Anyways, but I didn't like these ones that were only taking 25 trades because that's like 25 trades over like 10 years, right? This isn't very, like this was going back to 2016. Oh, sorry. So not over 7 years, right? So I wanted something that was closer to 1,000. So I kept going until I started to get these ones that were like 60K. But like, if you think of it, that's like you're making 10K every year, maybe. And the maximum drawdown that you get was 6,000. So you're basically maybe doubling your money every year. Of course, you'd need to have enough money in there, though, to withstand a $6,000 drawdown. So you would require a little bit more than I have right now to be able to trade it. So I don't know if now I think the problem with this is that there was a lot of optimization. There was a lot of optimization. And because I don't have a very good time series sort of a thing, I can't do something, you know, I guess I could have done something like only do it, you know, optimize on only the first half and then run it on the whole thing. But I think I would probably get the same result. So I don't have a ton of confidence that it will continue to work in the future. But it was based on a couple of things that I knew were kind of useful, right? I was using the R2 that seemed to help, and this rate of change indicators seemed to help. I don't think that the adaptive CCI did too much, which is kind of weird because that one usually really helps like get your bigger winners, but it seems that that one is not as effective on daily bars. So I don't know. But it's so hard to get. I really want a sharp ratio of 1, right? If I get a sharp ratio of 1, then that's maybe something. Yeah, and you know, I can have more confidence on that it's not goal seeking, right? That's definitely something that I could turn into a fund. But I just found it curious that that was all it took to get something that was fairly profitable. But I was also a little disappointed that the voting strategy thing didn't actually help that much. I mean, it was good that in that it lets you take more trades. But I guess probably this voting thing would maybe make more sense for an intraday strategy. So maybe I need to turn around and try and turn it into an intraday strategy. Yeah. But if you have ideas on more of a momentum CTA strategy sort of a thing, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. And I think at least my initial investigation does support the idea that you might be more likely to be able to find an actual statistical edge on daily bars. So, well, they're pulling back again, back to 08, which was where the liquidity hole was before. So that's exactly what I was concerned about. Actually, with the way that this played out, this kind of looks to me like, okay, so Goolsby started talking somewhere around here. And I don't know quite what it was, but I think something that he said did start to cause it to sell. It's interesting that it moved down that far. Then there was this area right here, which was where we said, wow, that was a really strong pullback, but it came back to the liquidity hole, right? Came back to the liquidity hole. It was a little bit early. It was only a 30-minute wait instead of a 45-minute wait, but they did move down. And then what? Another liquidity hole. So I think that probably what happened was this guy right here was puking here. Somebody took that long and realized that it wasn't working and puked it and took the loss. But after he puked, they reverted back to the liquidity hole. So I think we're still in a wait and see area. up until about, well, if this started a little bit before 8, I suppose we could start moving again if they start moving every 30 minutes, but it's probably more likely to wait another 10, 15 minutes before they make another move, and then we'll see. But I do, well, and on a third leg is a little bit tough, right? But I'm still leaning towards short. Still leaning short. Sometimes Ninja Trader just makes me laugh. Dear Ninja Trader, how do you get rid of the text and marker plots on the strategy analyzer chart? And the response is, unfortunately, this is not supported. Oh, okay. Thanks. I'll add it to the backlog. That was 2011. Jeez. There's so many things in, like, they're definitely always making changes and stuff. But there's so many teeny tiny little things that, like, I think they could fix and, like, that just get forgotten. Because there's just too much for them to do, I think, is what it comes down to. Maybe if you changed, like, the default chart to remove them, maybe that would fix it. So on the subreddit, you guys did view the post, but you didn't comment. Let's try and get a discussion going on in this subreddit. If we could get a real, you know, an informed trading subreddit going, I think that could really help us out. So I don't think it has a real edge, just less daily bars, so the data tends to be trending. So I guess your comments may be a little bit too vague. I'll post on Reddit for 5 times. No. Anyways, so momentum is a known proven edge, and we know why it happens as well. That doesn't mean that edge can't be destroyed. I'm kind of wondering, with as popular as the CTA strategies have become, if momentum is not going to destroy itself here. Yeah? but it is an edge. Whether what I was getting is an edge is a different question, because I think you're kind of on the right track. You have less daily bars, less data, and so forth, and so maybe you're not getting a good enough sample. And in this particular instance, I think that 7 years worth of data and almost 1,000 trades is sufficient, except for that was my entire back testing period, or sorry, that was my entire optimization period. I didn't have like an optimization period and then a look forward period. So there's a very, very good chance that it's just curve fitting, right? I think that the values that it's coming down to do that make sense and are pretty consistent. That there's you know, I'm not going to say that I think it's less likely for that to happen, but I think that there's enough question in there that there is a chance that this strategy would work moving forward. But I don't think I'm going to trade it. I really want to see, I want something with a better Sharpe ratio. I might need to go through and make, because there's these things that are like probabilistic Sharpe ratio and things like that. think I want to make my own metrics in there and use those and optimize on those. I did with that. Another thing that I did on this was I want to come back to this one. So when you're coming down into here and you're looking at your optimize on, instead of doing sharp, I'm doing sharp filtered. Now, unfortunately, you can't. There's no way for it. I wish there was a way for me to make it so that, like, when you choose sharp filtered, a spot would show up underneath with, like, properties that I can set. But basically, there's a spot, and where is it? Optimization fitnesses, sharp filtered. So I just have to come in and change this static. So basically, what it says is it gives it a score of 0 if there's not enough trades. Because what I'll often find happen is sharp ratio will just optimize towards whatever took the least amount of trades. So, and then the one that does the best is really only doing the best because it only took 2 trades. So I tell it, I need a minimum of 50 or something like that for me to accept it. The rest it discards. But I don't know if another thing I could do is like for this optimization run, well, walk forward optimization. Save history false. Test period of days. Let's do 90-day test periods. Oh, optimization period. It needs to be more than that. It needs to be like a 90-day optimization period, and then like a 365, or let's even do more than that. Let's 90. Let's do it. Should we do it by a factor of 10? Yeah, let's do 720 days. And do it like that. Let's see. And I don't know how many. I think we should be okay. I'm gonna try running this. Might slow us down a little bit. 16,000 iterations. With doing this kind of walk forward optimization, it may actually improve the performance of the strategy, but we'll see. I move this to the side. It looks like we're kind of seeing a little bit of selling pressure again. Just only slight. We weren't really able to hold the 08. That big old 5K at 08 does kind of make things look kind of menacing, like it'd be really hard for us to move back up there. Only 30 minutes left for me though, so I don't know if I want to mess with that. I think we might be doing a bit of backtesting this week. We do still have some economic data, so I think we could still get some decent trading this week. I get Thursday and Friday off. But I think I'm going to study during those times. Now, I'll probably still do the stream, and then after the stream, I'll do a study. Practice tests. Every time that I take one of these stupid practice tests, it's 3 hours. Pretty exhausting, man. And for the Series 3... they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, every question is a big math problem. It's like, okay, when they entered into the trade, this was the futures and this was the underlying, or what do we call it? This was the cash market. This was the futures and this was the cash market, and this is the futures and the cash market when they exited the trade, and what was the overall profit for it. But they'll always ask in a different way. They'll be like, okay, what was their actual cost on, or what did they actually make from selling the crop? And you have to account for the basis hedge that they made and all that sort of stuff. So there's a bunch of math, and those take a long time. And there's a lot more of that. I mean, I don't know how much of that is actually on the tests. I'm guessing that people struggle with that, and so my practice tests are going to focus on that more. I'm talking about Series 3 exam, which is the exam for commodities trading. So every time I take one of these practice tests, it's 3 hours. But I took the first one. I felt like I made a lot of dumb mistakes. I still passed. So actually, I think I passed. I got a 70. Was 70 a pass, or was it 73 a pass? I don't recall. I'm really frustrated by the people coming into Discord and talking about which exchange should I use, because I'm suspicious that these are just people trying to push certain exchanges. But they're talking about Binance, so like, I highly doubt that Binance is paying people to come in and troll our Discord, right? Oh, it's done. Yeah, well, using that method, it actually was profitable. But not on the long trades, only on the short trades. So not very good, I'd say. Here's one that's got a good Sharpe ratio, though. Why is that one not showing up at the top? I told it to optimize on Sharpe ratio filtered, right? Yeah. I don't know. What's with that? This one even had a higher net profit too. What's with that? Oh, I see. This was the time period that was the most profitable. So they did a test period, and then they went through it, and that period was good. But for the total overall time, this is what it did, and 2 of those periods were it actually lost money. Interesting. I don't know what I'm gonna do with when I pass the exam. So if we pass it, we could start a business with it. So for instance, we could run a commodities trading pool, right? I could say, okay, you guys, you send me the money, and then I trade it, and then when we make the money, it gets distributed back to you, or whatever the deal is, right? We can run a pool like that. And as long as there's like not more than 15 of you, and I'm not getting paid for doing it, then I don't have to register with the CFTC. But maybe I register with the CFTC anyways. But we could do something like that. Or I can give people advice on commodities trading, like you're a farmer or whatever, you want to hedge it, and I can explain how to do that, right? That's the sort of stuff that you do with the Series 3. I already have the Series 65, which allows me to do investment advising, but I haven't started a investment advising company. So I kind of feel like, so going off of our discussion that we're having on Friday, part of Friday is just me frustrated, and I guess the stream is my safe base where I can vent my frustrations sometimes. We lost $30 on Friday. I was really frustrated by it. But it's only $30. But one of the things that really stands out to me is like, income from day trading can be, even if you're doing things right, can be very inconsistent. And it's very frustrating to me to feel like you're not going anywhere with it, right? So I want to, you know, still feel like I'm progressing towards something. And something that I think that the current structure of the stream does is, unless I'm doing well in my trading, we just don't feel like we're accomplishing anything. And I do think that, you know, like the YouTube, like if I came in and I made $100,000 from it, then of course the YouTube channel would do really, really well. But you know, whatever. I don't want to turn it in. I don't want to turn it into that, right? So what can we do? Well, you know, I think that the first goal is still to just get better at trading. And one of the things that I feel is that I don't have enough time to do things like look at higher time frame edges and that kind of study. So well, we're going to get some of that time right now. I did that. I can continue doing that. I don't know how I'm going to address that. I think that the best way to do that would be less streams. Some days where we don't stream and I can do that. Or I'm just doing that while we're streaming. I don't know. So that's one thing. But another thing is that I kind of feel like I've made most of the day trading videos that I have for right now that were like really good informational content for you guys that will really, really help you out. I think I've made most of those. I think that there's kind of a little bit more pop videos like I can make a video, how much money do you need to trade? And we can go into that. And I don't know if that would really help most of you, but you know, that's something that a lot of beginners search about and want to know about, and it could bring more people into the channel. So it would be beneficial in that respect, right? I am going to make a video about the chair and maybe about our computer setup. But I'm also kind of thinking, well, I would like to make more general content as well. But I don't think that putting the general content on this channel would work very well. Or let's say I was to create an investment advisor business and I called it Speculator Seth. I don't think that speculation is what most people are looking for when they're talking about investment advising, right? So I think that I need a second brand for more general education, right? So like one of the videos that I want to make that I would put on a more general brand channel is what is the best budgeting app? So I've done a lot of research about that and I don't really see people posting about it. You know, so I kind of want to highlight this. I think I want to make a video about it, but I think if I put it on Speculator Seth, I don't know if it would really do very well. So I think it makes sense to make a second brand. But then what should my second brand be? What would I call it? I don't think I have very many good ideas. I'm having a little bit of trouble reclaiming that 08. Certainties. I think the mistake that I made with the Speculator Seth brand is that it's a word that's a little bit too long and hard for people to spell, and they can confuse it with other words. So I think it needs to be something simpler. Getting a good bit of strength in the dollar here. I guess it's not that significant, but they are climbing here. Treasuries don't seem to be responding at all to that, though. Maybe a little pullback in oil here. Yeah, the move in the dollar may have more to do with oil, which might make sense in this environment. Call it bald eagle. Nope, it's already a business. Bald Eagle Investments USA, investment company in New Hampshire. Oh, in New Orleans, Louisiana. I just saw new and I assumed it would be New Hampshire, but it's in New Orleans. I did have a losing day on Friday. That's what's so frustrating about it was that I had a $30 winner. I scratched that. I took 2 more trades and it was minus $30 that day. And those are live trades. So, I mean, $30 is not a big deal, but I care. Like, to me, it's more like number of ticks. Like, to lose, to turn a 3 basis point winner into a 3 basis point loser, I don't think that should happen. Now, in review of it, I think that a lot of it had to do with I didn't get a good night's rest the day before, and I wasn't making very good decisions. Because even though I think I was wrong on like the situation, I think I should have known better that the options would kind of give things a tendency to mean revert. So that was the first thing, is I really should have gotten more profits. You know, I should have gotten some profit out of that first one. And then after that, should I have really taken those 2 further trades? Maybe I could have justified the second one, but definitely not the third one. So yeah, I don't think it was not worth trading. I think that I should have been much more anxious to take my profits, right? Like there was a spot where I saw, okay, we're running into the liquidity hole, but I didn't take it off. And then it came back, and something that happens to me is when I see that hole and it comes back instead, I will try and sit in and wait for it to come back up to that spot, and that doesn't always work out for me. So I think it was more mistakes on my side. But there was certainly some things to learn from it too. But either way, it's still incredibly frustrating for me. Because I think my bigger thing is that like I think most of the time I'll do kind of okay. But then the problem is that I'm not catching all of the big winners that I should. So when I've really got something that's working well, I get out of it too quickly. I don't size up with it, that sort of a thing. So I'm not fully taking advantage of my right tails. And then, I am limiting my left tails, but we'll still get ones like that. You'll still have days where, you're tired or whatever, and you make mistakes. So we kind of have to account for that. But that's kind of seems to be the place where I'm at, where I'm having issues. And it's frustrating mostly because I don't know how to fix that problem. What I can do to swip there. Yeah, trying to come up with a name for an investment advisor company is really hard because just about any idea that you can possibly think of is already taken. Okay. This is the first time I've seen you in here, and I don't think you know anything about my strategy to say that, so. Where we should, let's see, we got about 5 minutes left. So I think we should probably come through and just do a quick check of the news and so forth. Not much change on Zero Hedge. Yeah. Nuance is not rewarded by markets addicted to binary narratives of financial crisis and crushing recession/deflation, or time to lever up and YOLO into infinite duration monkey JPEGs. Yes. It is. I think that the... No, see, now you're trying to bait me. Okay, so... I do have a document that you can look at if you go to speculatorseth.com/strategy.html, and you can go and you can read that. But I think what you want is you want something that says when you get conditions A, B, and C are all met, then you go long with a risk-reward ratio of this and a stop of this, and then that's how you're going to make money. Okay, that doesn't work in intraday trading. It just straight up, it doesn't work. And the reason for that is because markets have a very strong, or respond very strongly to new orders. They're inelastic, essentially. So what that means is that if you have a strategy and you're coming in and you're trading it, and you're giving it to people and other people are trading it, the impact that has on the market is actually noticeable and is usually enough to destroy the profitability of the system. So in order to have like a long-term profitability off of a technical edge, you basically need to be like the only one that knows about it, and you need to know how to size your trades so that you don't destroy the edge, essentially. So any kind of like strict rules-based approach that you see on an intraday basis that people are sharing out there with you, I can pretty much guarantee that if it's not already unprofitable, that within a year it will be. By the time you're hearing about it on the internet, the edge has probably already been removed. So you actually don't want to have that kind of like really systematic rules-based approach for intraday trading. If you want to be like a CTA, that might be a different sort of a thing. But I've already kind of shown you a little bit of that today. There's some of the issues that you have as a retail trader. You might not have enough data and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of the problem that you get. So what we're doing instead is we're looking at informational inefficiencies. And that means that your strategy is going to be different every day, essentially. Right? Your strategy is going to be different every day. And how well you do kind of depends on how good of an informational edge you have at that time. I think yesterday I had all of the pieces, but I just wasn't on the ball and combining it together correctly I should have considered more that options expiration can kind of make it hard for us to move too much. Right. But intraday trading is super, super hard. Honestly, anybody that says that they have like a quote unquote profitable technical strategy, I am just straight up calling bullshit on you. Either you're lying or you're naive and you don't actually have enough data to be making the claim that you do, which I see a lot. I see a lot of people that think, oh, I've made money this month. That means I'm a profitable trader. Or even these people that have made money 1 or 2 years, they think that they're profitable. But the way that tells works, to really verify a strategy, you need at least 5 years. You come in back and have like a winning year every year for 5 years, then I'll come in, I'll look at it, and you can show me your broker statements and I can verify it. But otherwise, you're probably full of shit and don't actually know what's going on. And I can say that pretty confidently because I've gone through this like hundreds of times with people. And we always find that they don't have enough data. And then they never come back afterwards, right? They blow up afterwards and they don't come back. Happens every day to me, man. You constantly get people on Reddit in that kind of vein. They're always the most egotistical assholes, too. Okay, so over here in Zero Hedge, to the bottom. There is this one, Seeing Red by Benjamin Picton, Senior Macro Strategist at Rabobank. That would be worth reading. I'll read that later, though. Still have to look and see. I think there's still got some good stuff that we can post on the Informed Trading subreddit. I'm going to try and focus on like every piece of information that I can see that I can like link you to, that I believe provides some informational content that might help you in your trading. I want to put it there. So, oh, we do have 10 members, so that's cool. Oh yeah, that was your suggestion for a name. Keep thinking about suggestions for a more generalized brand we can use. Cool. Yeah, 10. It's already gotten our 10th member on informed trade r/informed trading. Oh, so you're saying that you're also trying to trade informational inefficiency? Well, there you go. But it's kind of a different sort of a thing, right? You can't really. It's not a plan in the same. It's not a plan or a strategy in the same way that, a systematic one is. Unfortunately, I mean that's the advantage of the systematic investing, but it's super hard. Rand guru investing. Well, I'm pretty sure that one wouldn't be taken. Although I bet you if guru investing is that a thing, I bet you that there is there's gurufocus.com. Research data and tools. Let's see here. S&P Global's Jennifer Ghana, Kelly Norway's, and Mohammed El Ansari. Detail below. Transport around the, avoiding the Red Sea and going around the Cape of Africa adds 40% to voyage distance. And it's 15% of global container freight market. So they're saying it's not the end of the world, but they're saying that it does significantly increase oil costs. I think the reason that probably the reason that this particular thing matters is because there's concern that could turn into a wider conflict where the West really goes after the Houthis now. Or how do you pronounce that name? Houthi? Is it Houthi? War risk. I'll need to read that later. And what about on Twitter? If you fund an EdgeClear account between now and the end of the month, they will contribute $100 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital on your behalf. Cool. Youth. I don't think that really helps. Okay. Oh, I missed one by Nick Timrose 32 minutes ago. Fed officials are out in force to push back against expectations that a market cut is a base case. Atlanta Fed's market probability tool shows just how dramatically March pricing changed after the FOMC meeting last week. Yes, let's post that on the subreddit. Reddit.com/r/informed trading. U is an Uber, so Houthi. Houthi. URL. I'm trying to decide what we should call Nick Timrose, if I should just call him the Fed Whisperer. I think I will. Officials are out forced to push back against expectations that a March cut is a base case. Oops. ADHD investing. You know, one thing that I have wondered. So I think one of the things that maybe works against me sometimes is if I have an idea and then I see that other people have already kind of done it, that makes me want to not do it. And I don't ever go, well, you know, but I can do it better than them. Well, I actually think I could make really good ADHD content. I think that I understand. So one of the things that I've noticed is that the people that are making content and that seem to be most into this are people that they grew up with ADHD and they weren't diagnosed until they were an adult, and now they've gotten treatment as an adult, right? Whereas me, I was diagnosed very young, relatively early before this became like a big thing. And I've become extremely effective with it, right? So some of these people, they're like, yeah, you know, they've done okay, but like now they're millionaires. But how are they millionaires? It's because they have a YouTube channel, right? Whereas me, I've gotten to the higher end of my field, you know, just doing my thing. And I've still had stumbles too. So I think that my experience is actually could be really useful to people, right? I worry if I made a channel like that it would be discouraging to other people though. Because I think that most ADHD people would look at me and and say to themselves, "Oh, if they had caught me when I was earlier, this is what I could have become. This is what was denied me." And that's not a very good thing to think about, right? So anyways, there's a lot of people on YouTube that make content about ADHD. So like, I don't know if it'd be worth it to, but you know, that also kind of says that, hey, you could have some success with this. So maybe I should just go and make a video and see how it goes, you know? I have serious attention deficit, something it's hard to sit and stare at the dumb. Well, I think the thing is if you are prescribed Adderall, that fixes those problems, right? But that also comes with a bunch of other problems, right? So you have the Adderall, it's easier for you to focus on on things, but then number one, you have to make sure that you end up focusing on the right things. So that's your first problem, right? And then there's all of the kinds of downsides and downsides and side effects of the medication that you have to deal with as well. So for instance, for trading, the medication tends to make you a little bit more nervous. You're a little bit more on edge. So that kind of hurts. The way that I solve that problem is I talk with you guys. Have a good support network. That really helps with that, right? How do you make sure that you focus on the right thing? You need to have a plan. It needs to be externalized. You put it somewhere, like you put it at the bottom of your screen. I know what I'm supposed to do. Or for instance, when I'm working during the day, I have this board where all of my tasks are on little post-it notes. And when I'm done, I throw the post-it note away. And it's just like your Jira board, but it's physical and it's in front of me all the time. I put it behind me just because the kid was getting it, but you know, when I start working, actually, I just leave it right here now. But I have it in front of me, and you externalize it, right? See, these are all things that I've gotten really good at now, being 38 and dealing with this for like 20, 30 years, right? And I don't actually see the content that I would talk about. So like, maybe I should make ADHD content. I think I should, I think I got 3 videos. The next 3 videos I should make is 1, the chair for you guys. Cause, knowing the things that you look at in a chair, that's really important because you're sitting a lot. Okay. It is a big part of your health. You should spend a lot on a chair. And I think that'd be a good opportunity for us. Then I should make a video about, well, I don't know what my video about ADHD would be, but I make a video about that. And I make a video about budgeting app. But I'll have to come up with 2 new brands. What would my brand be for ADHD stuff? Well, another thing you have to deal with when you have the medications too is it kind of harms your creativity, which does help you in trading, believe it or not, because you need to have the creativity to think about different scenarios that other people might not think about. So the way that you deal with that is you kind of have to go into the sorts of things that creatives use to keep to make that creative come out of you, because it won't come out as naturally. It's still there, but you have to force it out. Oh, I was just thinking about, is there anything else I need to do before we go? But then I looked at the time and I'm like, well, I'm already over. So, okay. So let's change the title of today. Fed continues, but Fed speakers continue pushback. But they're not having too much of an effect yet, are they? We'll see where we're at by the end of the week. They did get a decent push during this session. They didn't get too far, but it was still like 2 or 3 basis points, so that's not terrible. We are coming back to the 395 though, so I wonder if that gives you a better opportunity to go short again or what. But I won't be around for it, so tomorrow. See you guys then. In the meantime,